You already know what time it is. It's pizza time. Today we're taking a look at one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. Our journey begins with Peter trying to kill his boss. His boss is whining and complaining that Peter keeps coming in late. But like I always say, better late than never. His boss needs an order to go out ASAP, so he's like, go! Peter starts bobbing and weaving through traffic, risking his life for those pizzas. His bike is too damn slow though, so he leaves it behind so he can turn into Spider-Man and fast travel. But then these dumbass kids run into the street without looking both ways. So instead of letting natural selection do its thing, Peter throws the pizzas aside to save those delinquents. And then he's like, are you fucking blind? Then Peter arrives to the place and comes out of the closet and tells this lady it's pizza time. But pizza time was like 30 minutes ago or some shit, because she says, you're late, I'm not paying for those. So he gets fired for being a terrible employee and for saving those kids while on the clock. J. Jonah Jameson also fires Peter because he's not bringing in those juicy Spider-Man pictures anymore. So after being blackmailed, Peter gives him a picture of Spider-Man so he can keep his only source of income, and he gets paid, but not really, because those $300 he got doesn't even cover the advance this baddie gave him a couple weeks ago. So he's back to being broke.
I just felt like running. Oh.
He ends up dropping all his shit on the floor like an idiot, so now he's getting assaulted left and right. He runs into his professor, Dr. Connors, and he's very disappointed in Peter for repeatedly missing class like a delinquent. So then he threatens to fail him if he doesn't get his shit together. The homie can't seem to catch a break today. He's got no job, no money, no bitches, and now he's on the verge of failing school. Later that night, Mary Jane, Harry, and his Aunt May surprise him for his birthday. Harry tells Peter he can introduce him to some big science nerd to help Peter with his research paper, and also he tells him that Mary Jane is still waiting for him to make a move on her. But I just can't help but think, isn't he getting sloppy seconds? In the last movie, Harry was dating Mary Jane for a bit, so I don't know if this is cuck mentality, or maybe I'm just looking too deep into this. I don't know. What do you think, Peter?
Could we get off that subject?
Alright, fine. Moving on. Peter finds out that his aunt is being evicted because she can't pay the damn bills anymore. So when she hands Peter a 20 for his birthday, he's like,
no, I can't take that.
But then she gets all pissed off at him and tells him to take that shit. So he starts crying like a bitch because he got yelled at. He finds MJ outside. She touches him, causing Peter to nut in his pants.
Oh boy, yeah.
She tells him she's seeing someone else now, and he gets a little jelly, but he tries to play it cool. That's good, companionship. But she tells him,
maybe more than that.
I think she means she's getting her guts rearranged.
This can't be.
Peter tells her he's gonna go see her shitty play tomorrow, and she gets all happy. So homie still has a chance, he just can't fuck it up. He goes home and his landlord is demanding the rent, but Peter's too broke to pay up. He only has his 20 for the week, and it's gone. The next morning, he knocks to use the bathroom, but his landlord just walks in and then opens the door and he's like, rent? Harry introduces Peter to Dr. Otto Octavius. They totally nerd out about the fusion reactor thingy, basically an invention to create a shit ton of clean energy to power up your dildo. He gives Peter the best advice to pull any bad habibi he wants. It's a powerful magic not even Doctor Strange knows about.
Feed her poetry.
The fuck? That's the worst advice you can give anyone. He's got my mans reading like a stack of books for poetry. Peter's getting ready to go see Mary Jane's play and trying to avoid paying his rent. So on his way to the play, he almost gets run over by these bad guys. This dude somehow cripples the cop's car after shooting its headlights, and then this cop ends up flipping his car, and all these people are about to be roadkill, but then Spider-Man saves them with his sticky webcam. Then he takes out the bad guys and publicly hangs them. So after completing the side quest, he arrives to the show and this cop threatens to tow the car, but it's stolen, so Peter don't give a fuck. He walks in and this kind gentleman helps Peter tidy up his shoes and his shirt, but then he tells him, can I help you? You can't let him in because he arrived late, and he politely tells Peter to fuck off. So now poor Peter Parker is sitting outside listening to this lady drop some bars. Then he sees Mary Jane walking out, but this random dude walks over and kisses her.
This can't be.
He runs away crying like a bitch, but also because there's crime in progress. He does this whole little suit up thing and starts swinging away, but then he runs out of sticky fluid and shoots nothing but blanks. He ends up falling from the sky eating shit, and now he can't perform like he used to, probably because he's been shooting too many loads lately. He tries calling MJ the next day to apologize, but she doesn't care about his excuses. Later, Dr. Octavius is making history by creating clean, sustainable energy with the help of Oscorp because Harry is providing some shit called tritium. In order for him to control the massive ball of energy he's about to create, he uses these robotic tentacles that connect straight into his brain and spine. Also, this tiny little chip keeps him in control. He puts the tritium into the machine to start her up, then he turns that shit on. He stabilizes it with his noodle arms. Everything is going pretty good, you know, the power of the sun in the palm of his hand and shit. But then something fucks up. The tiny little sun starts sucking everything into its mouth like a porn star. Peter leaves Harry to fend for himself, but he clearly can't because he starts throwing a temper tantrum like a child. I mean, he almost got smacked, but Spider-Man saves him, and he doesn't even even say thank you, fucking dick. Spider-Man tries turning off the machine, but this nerd swats him away like a bug, so the tiny son becomes even more unstable and breaks off the glass doors or whatever. And the nerd's wife takes a bunch of shattered glass to the face, so she's dead. So Otto turns around for a second, which was his downfall, because this important chip on his back ends up getting fried. Spider-Man finally wakes up from his nap, and then he turns off the machine before the ball of energy explodes. He successfully stops New York's version of Hiroshima from happening. And also Harry is pretty salty because Spider-Man saved him. He's like, he humiliated me by touching me. I bet your sexual misconduct victim said the exact same thing, Mr. Franco. Later at the hospital, Mr. Science Nerd is pretty much fucked because those tiny metal pins that went into his spine got infused when he got clapped from behind. So the doctors decide to chop them noodle arms off. But like a scene out of a horror movie, those freaking robot arms just come to life and start attacking everyone one by one. I remember watching this as a kid, and it was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. Seeing everyone being thrown around like a meatball and hearing the screams of everyone, and especially this lady with her nails dragging across the floor. After everyone gets slaughtered, Otto wakes up from his bloody crime scene, so he leaves the hospital before the cops show up. So later, JJ steals the name idea for Dr. Octopus, aka Doc Ock, from this employee, so that's his new name. Peter shows up, so JJ needs Peter to take photos for his son, the astronaut, but Peter being broke, he asks to be paid in advance, and JJ's like,
You serious?
I think that's a no. We cut to Doc Ock thinking about offing himself because he's lost everything, but then he goes crazy because he starts hearing voices in his head, and then he realizes the chip thing he broke, so the voices in his head convince him to finish what he started with the machine. But in order to do that, he needs money, so the best way to get money is to steal it. So then we catch up with Peter and his aunt at the bank trying to get a small loan of $1 million, but they can't give it to her because they know her broke ass won't be able to pay it off. But then Dr. Octopus shows up and starts robbing the joint like it's GTA. He chucks the vault door aside, but luckily this version of Peter was able to save his aunt. Unlike this Peter, he runs away to leave his aunt to fend for herself, and from her perspective, all she sees is her nephew running away from her. Mr. Octopus Man starts stealing all the Bitcoin he can grab, but then Spider-Man shows up, so they start making deposits and withdrawals, literally allowing anyone to grab a few pesos for themselves. Peter starts having performance anxiety or some shit because his sticky fluid isn't shooting out anymore. Are you fucking? So he gets knocked down, and then Tentacle Man starts squeezing his head like he's trying to pop a pimple, but then he grabs some heavy ass desks to stop him, and one of them ends up hitting and killing him with all that force. Psych! Ain't no fucking way, bro. That should have killed him. The cops show up, so he coincidentally picks up Aunt May and takes her as a hostage. So he tries running away, but Spider-Man shows up to save Aunt May. Of course! But this man was like, psych! So he shoots a web to try to catch her, but he ends up snapping her neck. Oh wait, sorry, that's the wrong Spider-Man 2. He catches her and brings her to safety, unlike Spider-Man gets tossed aside, and then Aunt May gets captured again. So Spider-Boy tries to save her, but Otto pulls a shank out of his tentacle as a sneak attack. Aunt May, being a good Christian woman, doesn't allow for that violence, so she pimp slaps him, and Spider-Man ends up dodging the knife. So then she gets saved from falling without getting her neck snapped again. Tentacle Man successfully escapes with the stolen money, because I guess Peter thought that was enough ass whooping for one day. Like, I don't think he went that far. He's probably around the block. Peter goes to some fancy party to take pictures for JJ. Harry is getting wasted off champagne, so Peter tells him to stop being an alcoholic. So of course, he starts rambling about his daddy issues and his Spider-Man issues, and Peter's getting tired of his shit. JJ's son, the astronaut, gets brought out, and his side piece turns out to be Mary Jane, and I can't help but think, is Mary Jane a gold digger? I mean, she seems to date guys with money. You got Flash Thompson, who had daddy's money, Harry Osborn, who also has daddy's money, and now this astronaut dude who seems to be a big deal. It's like Kanye West once said,
there's a lot of things that I love about him.
No. He once said, I ain't saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Peter is literally starving for some pussy. So he approaches MJ, he tries apologizing to her, but she's had enough of his shit and basically wants nothing to do with him anymore. So Peter pulls out the ultimate move and starts spitting out some poetry for her, but she tells him to shut the fuck up and walks away. Poor Peter. Things get a lot worse though. Harry's daddy issues make him slap Peter in front of everyone because his dad loved Peter more than him, and then the astronaut dude announced that he and Mary Jane are gonna get married, so Peter's taking L's left and right. He's feeling all sad and lonely because no one loves him, so he's going for a midnight swing, contemplating his life, but then he runs out of webs midair, but luckily the dumpster broke his fall. He's so confused as to why his powers aren't working, so he tries climbing the wall, but midway he slips and falls on his ass. My man's is going through a rough time right now. Later, we see Doc Ock honing in his top G vibes with the cigar, and he starts rebuilding his science fair project. I don't think you could find those parts at Home Depot, so like, where did he get these parts? Did he go on the dark web? Peter goes to the doctor because he feels concerned with what's happening to him. So he tells the doctor that his friend is having a dream of being Spider-Man and losing their powers. His doctor tells him that maybe the problem is more of a mental thing. I don't know what kind of drugs he's on, but it must be some good shit, because he somehow has a conversation with his dead Uncle Ben about him needing to save people and deliver justice like a box of pizza, because with great power comes great responsibility. But Peter spits in Uncle Ben's face and tells him to fuck off. Viejo desgraciado. He calls it quits on the hero stuff and throws away his costume, so he turns his life around with a happy montage. But he's doing better in school. He doesn't give a flying fuck about crimes because that's not his problem anymore. He finally goes to see MJ's play, and when she spots him in the crowd, she's all surprised and almost fucks up the entire show. But afterwards, Peter and MJ talk for a bit, and then Peter's like, hey, do you want to get some chow mein? But she's like, I'm getting married. Peter tries convincing her not to because he wants to pick up where they left off, but she's like, nah. So
mission failed. We'll get him next time.
This garbage man brings Spider-Man's suit to try and sell it to JJ. So now all of New York knows that Spider-Man called it quits. Peter thinks it's the perfect time to come clean about what really happened the day his uncle died. So Aunt May sees Peter as a huge piece of shit for holding in this information. So we cut to Harry obsessing over Spider-Man like a weirdo. He hears a disturbance in the force, so he goes and checks it out. And then he gets sucker punched by Doc Ock and his giant tentacle. Doc Ock persuades Harry to give him more of that tritium, so Harry makes him a deal he can't refuse. He wants him to bring Spider-Man alive in exchange for some tritium. And this fake ass friend sold out Peter because he told Dr. Octopus that Peter knows where Spider-Man is. Peter notices that crime went up 75%, which isn't too bad, but then he looks over to see a burning building, so he runs in there with the biggest pair of balls he could find, and he starts doing some cool parkour to not die. He finds this child hiding in the closet. Peter fails this quick time event and almost gets himself killed. He throws the kid away like throwing away trash. Somehow she manages to pull his fat ass up. By some miracle, he makes it out alive and completes the mission, but Peter finds out that there was another child 2 floors above him that didn't make it out, so
mission failed.
He's tired of life slapping him around and treating him like a used up sloop. But in this moment of pain, this chick walks in without knocking and tells him, yo man, you want some chocolate cake? So Peter happily accepts that shit. But I don't think he ordered it with the side of staring problems, because she's creepily watching him finish the cake. And after all that, she gives him a message from his aunt. She's packing up her shit to move out with the help of this child.
I'm giving him $5.
What? That's basically child labor. Aunt May ends up forgiving Peter for his fuck up, and then she gives Peter some words of inspiration, which is the little spark he needed to try and be Spider-Man again. Oh damn, that's pretty high up.
Strong focus on what I want.
I don't know, maybe start small, like a curb or something? Peter starts hauling ass to leap across the rooftop, but he only makes it halfway before he falls. But it's okay though. This brick wall and 2 cars broke his fall. And then he's like, oh, my back. He's fine, he just has to walk it off. Later, MJ doesn't feel like inviting Peter to her wedding because fuck him. And then she tries doing the upside down Spider-Man kiss with her mans, but she's like, yeah, that's just not it. So this slut calls over Peter to hang out, and she starts telling him that maybe she does want to be with Peter, but Peter pulls back and tells her he doesn't love her. So she's like, kiss me right now. You are getting married.
I'll take care of this at once. You slut dragon!
But then he gets cock blocked by this car that was lunged at him, and luckily his Peter tingle kicked in. It was Doc Ock's punk ass who threw it, even though Harry told him, don't hurt Peter! Like that would have literally killed Peter. What an idiot sandwich. He tells Peter to go find Spider-Man or else he's gonna do some shit to MJ. Then he throws him across the room trying to paralyze him, and then he grabs and steals MJ. But Peter isn't cool with that, so his powers decide to come back. He can't be swinging around town without his suit, so his next mission is to go and find it. We see his suit pinned on JJ's wall like a trophy, and the moment he turns around, Peter takes his shit back, which pisses off JJ. But it doesn't matter because he's back. He finds Dr. Octopussy and wants to know where MJ is at, but he doesn't tell him, so Spider-Man starts throwing hands. Eventually they both fall off and land on a train. Spider-Man and Doc Ock are throwing down on the train, and also Peter has to pass all these quick time events. I mean, look at this. He also has to save people from being yeeted off the train. Tentacle Man ends up using his brain to set the train to max speed, so now that's Spider-Man's problem. He checks it out, but then he gets his face blown, so he has to take off his mask, and then he looks ahead and sees a dead end, so he tries stopping the train with his foot. What a genius. He uses his webs to grab onto buildings, and after holding on to dear life, he manages to slow down that heavy ass train and saves everyone from dying. They carry him inside and everyone is like, damn, so that's how he looks like. They promise him they won't tell anyone how he looks like. He gets his mask back and gets up, but then this nerdy loser crashes the party and tells everyone to get the fuck out of the way, and then he knocks Spider-Man out. He takes him to Harry and receives his payment. Harry walks over to Spider-Man about to kill him, but he wants to see the pussy behind the mask. But lo and behold, it's Peter Pecar, and he's like, Dios mío. Peter gets up and tells him Doc Ock has Mary Jane, and eventually he tells him where the nerd is hiding. We see Dr. Octopus turning on his machine once again, and Spider-Man creeping around, and also him somehow knowing. Motherfucker has spidey sense or something, dude. He surprises MJ, but this nerd surprises him too. Spider-Man is trying to turn off the machine, but Tentacle Nerd refuses to let that shit happen. They go at it again for round 3, but eventually Dr. Octopus is about to kill Spider-Man, and then Mary Jane gets the brilliant idea to try and help him with like a piece of wood, and then she gets tossed aside. He tries stabbing Peter, but he gets Uno reversed, so then Peter tries turning off the machine again, but by that point it's already too late. Peter reveals his identity to Doc Ock so he can convince him to turn off the machine, and then Dr. Octopus decides to sacrifice his life to destroy the power of the sun, and then Peter turns around to see MJ about to be turned into a pancake, so he rushes over to save her, and now she knows his identity, and with the power of the boner, he tosses that heavy ass roof away and saves her from death, and then this dude drowns. He ends up telling this almost married woman that he can't be with her because if his enemies found out who he be fucking, their lives will be at risk. So then he drops her down and her man starts doing some parkour to get to her. I mean, look at this guy. We cut to Harry and he starts having some sort of schizophrenic episode with his dad. This fucking guy can't get over his daddy issues. His dad tells him to avenge him, so Harry's like, ah, and breaks the mirror to find a hidden lab behind it. We cut to MJ's wedding. Her mans is waiting for her, but then he gets a note from her saying she doesn't want to get married anymore. She runs over to go see Peter. She tells him she wants to be with him and shit, so Peter's like, fuck it. But then he hears some sirens outside and forgets about her immediately. The end.